This episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by the good folks over at dipstickvapes.com, makers of the innovative Dipper Vaporizer, the multifunction device that should be in the cannabis consumption toolbox of every smart marijuana connoisseur. Priced at just $150 retail, it's not hard to see why everyone is talking about the Dipper. Not only can you use it as a traditional pack-and-go vape pen, but with the optional Dip Whip accessory, you can replace the butane and blowtorches from your dab rig session. And don't forget, when you use the discount code MJToday over at dipstickvapes.com, you'll save 15% off the cost of the Dipper and generate a donation in that same amount by Dipstick Vapes to our friends over at Students for Sensible Drug Policy. That's dipstickvapes.com, discount code MJToday. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Thursday, June 29th, 2017, and you're tuned in to episode 279 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. Our top story of the day is a great write-up by Tom Angel over at MassRoots that looks at the history rewrite Vermont Governor Phil Scott is attempting to pull off in regards to his role in the recent failure by the state legislature to pass legal adult use marijuana. This is a story we've been tracking for a while now, with a push to legalize adult use via the legislative process failing at the last moment due to political back-channel wrangling. Tom took a deep dive into all the facts of the case, which can be summed up in short as Governor Scott just not getting off the couch to change the marijuana channel. Instead of pushing his Republican colleagues to seriously consider the legalization measure, the governor hemmed and hawed as the legislative clock ticked down after making earlier statements indicating that he would actually go to bat for a good compromise bill. Click over to Tom's story for the full read on this one. A couple in Oregon is bringing a lawsuit against their marijuana growing neighbors using the federal RICO statute in a way that mirrors a recent case in Colorado with a similar set of basic facts. The Oregon couple own an 11-acre plot of land in Beaver Creek, Oregon, and say their neighbors are depressing the value of their land by growing marijuana. Mary Jane is reporting that the earlier Colorado case, which also involves a person suing their cannabis cultivating neighbor under RICO, was not explicitly mentioned in the Oregon lawsuit, but it's not hard to see the connection. For one, prohibitionist group Safe Streets Alliance, a co-plaintiff in the earlier Colorado case, publicly encouraged people to follow their example. While the judge in Colorado found that Safe Street Alliance and the pot-hating Colorado landowner have a right to bring a RICO case, that's still a long way from being able to prove a RICO case. For some good insight on this issue, check out episode 152 of our weekly show Marijuana Today, which you can find on iTunes by searching for the term marijuana. That's episode 152, titled Jeff Sessions, Massachusetts, and the RICO Act Walk into a Bar. We'll also throw a link up to that episode on our website at mjtodaydaily.com and on our Twitter account at mjtodaydaily, where we also post all the news we cover. Our final top story of the day brings us overseas to the autonomous region of Catalonia, Spain, where yesterday the Catalonia Parliament announced new regulations legalizing adult use cannabis clubs. The new rules allow cannabis clubs to grow up to 380 pounds of marijuana each, though each club will be monitored by a government official to make sure they're growing an amount that's reasonable for the number of members they have. In a bid to prevent marijuana tourism from springing up, new cannabis club members will be required to wait 15 days to get their membership cleared from the day they apply. Nice work to all the activists who pushed that one through. Those are our top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz out on headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, dipstickvapes.com, makers of the innovative Dipper Vaporizer. If you have a store or dispensary, you need to be carrying the Dipper on your shelves. Here's why. The Dipper sets itself apart from all its competition thanks to the hugely useful multiple functions it's capable of performing. It's an easy sell to your customers because it's super easy to understand as a buyer why the Dipper is such a great value. Of course, you're going to spend your money on a vaporizer that lets you do more than just pack and go. If you could benefit from the bottom line boosting sales of the Dipper, swing on over to dipstickvapes.com and get in touch about becoming a reseller. And don't forget, if you just want to buy a Dipper for yourself, use the discount code MJToday over at dipstickvapes.com to save 15% off the already affordable price and to generate a donation in that same amount to our friends over at Students for Sensible Drug Policy. All right, time for the Blitz. A grand jury in Denver has indicted 62 people accused in organizing and operating a large-scale illegal marijuana trafficking operation over the last 4 years. The group grew marijuana in Colorado and packaged and shipped it out of state for sale in illicit markets. Not content with just that revenue line, the group also is being accused of swindling investors who were told they were putting their money into a legit and legal operation. The list of those alleged victims include a former Denver Broncos football player. Swing on over to the Denver Post for all the details on this one. A new study was just released showing that a large majority of medical marijuana patients using prescription opioid painkillers preferred medical cannabis to their prescription drugs, with nearly all of them saying they could reduce their use of pharmaceutical painkillers with the augmentation of medical marijuana. The survey was conducted among nearly 3,000 medical marijuana patients registered with the website HelloMD and was done in cooperation with researchers at the University of California, Berkeley, who were led by noted researcher Amanda Reinman and Mark A. Welty. This is a hugely fascinating study that I have to think is going to cause a lot of pharmaceutical executives to freak out. 97% of respondents said that they could cut their use of opioid painkillers when using cannabis, while 92% of them said they outright preferred to use marijuana over opioids. 81% of respondents went as far as to say that cannabis was more effective at treating their pain than when they used both opioids and cannabis. This is really important information. Click on over to this one for the full read. New Hampshire Governor Chris Sununu signed a bill into law yesterday that expands his state's list of medical marijuana qualifying conditions to include moderate to severe pain, as well as PTSD and a condition affecting joints and connective tissues. Traditionally, the addition of pain to a state's medical marijuana qualifying conditions list leads to a large jump in the number of registered patients, so it'll be interesting to see how New Hampshire's patients ranks rise from here. On Tuesday, Massachusetts House Speaker Robert DeLeo said there may be some space in negotiations to come down from the 28% sales tax that would be imposed under a passed House bill that would largely repeal and replace the adult use ballot initiative passed by voters in the fall. As I've reported on in recent days, 6 Massachusetts legislators are meeting behind closed doors this week in conference committee with the goal of hammering out a compromise bill that melds the disparate versions passed out of the House and Senate. They have until Friday to get their work done. On Tuesday, House Speaker DeLeo and Senate President Stan Rosenberg appeared on a WGBH television show where they discussed their views on, among other things, legal cannabis. When asked about the chances of compromising on the tax rate, which the Senate bill sets at 12%, DeLeo said, quote, "I suppose there could be some negotiation," unquote. Boom, there you have it, we won. We'll follow along as this one progresses. Polly Washburn over at the Cannabist has a good write-up of the recently released 2017 UN World Drug Report, which lays out worldwide drug use statistics for the year 2015. It's an insightful read worth clicking over, and I love the angle that the Cannabist picked up on with their title. Despite the fact that no drug in the world is used by more people than cannabis, not one single case of someone dying from consuming too much marijuana could be found in the entire world. Click over for all the details. The state of Nevada is bracing for a busy weekend, with Saturday marking the start of legal adult use sales via licensed medical dispensaries. Nevada State Senator Tick Segerblom characterized the idea of Las Vegas with legal marijuana as, quote, Amsterdam on steroids. Regular listeners should remember, though, that stores are likely to sell out of their stock quickly as the state's distribution channels are tied up by a lawsuit filed by alcohol distributors upset that their 18-month legislatively imposed monopoly on distribution didn't apply during this early phase. As it stands now, medical shops can sell adult use inventory they have on hand, but won't be able to restock until the situation in court is cleared up. And finally for today, medical marijuana has been cleared as permissible to use during the Shabbat by a Jewish rabbi in Israel. Rabbi Avraham Reznikov, rabbi of the Ichilov Medical Center in Tel Aviv, wrote in a recent article that the use of medical marijuana during the Shabbat was okay, saying that preferably a patient would consume it as an edible, but that vaporization was also allowed and that as a last resort, even smoking medical cannabis could be done. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again tomorrow morning with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our Twitter account at MJTodayDaily and visit our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, Dipstick Vapes, and to all of our awesome patron listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the patron listeners yourself, swing on over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in and starting your day with marijuana today. Today.
One take, Shay. One take.